Okay, let's take something like a right-handed person. Do you think that's a social construct?
Um, wait, absolutely, yeah. People can use
Do
their
you
right
think
or
right
left
and
hand to
left
vary.
are social constructs?
Like in the sense that they're relative, like to you, I get, but like broadly, not really. No. Though actually, yeah, I would say so because you could argue like, is left or right a deliberate direct 90 degrees to you, or does it refer to like 180, like a fan of view to your left and right? Different people might understand left and right to mean like directly or like tilt left or right. When you just say left or right, do you mean a 90-degree switch or do you mean like this or that? There are cultures that never even had concepts of left or right. They would use cardinal directions.
But just to be clear, you do think that our directions of left and right are socially constructed?
Well, do you mean a direct 90-degree from where you're facing forward?
Yeah, because I think anything else we have like northeast and other measures for
So
that.
if
But
something was 67 degrees from where you're facing, so that would be to your right, but not like fully, would you consider that to be to your right, or is that forward?
partially, but not fully, no.
Oh, well, that sounds like a bit of confusing ambiguity there. Now,
No.
if you want to, well,
67 is
yes,
almost to 80. It's more farther away
90.
from zero. So it's like that's how mathematics works too.
So does it become right if it hits the 45 degree, and then past that it would be right, and then at
Something
135 it
is
would go back to being like
truly to the
behind?
right if it hits a 90-degree angle, just like a triangle. It's truly a triangle once it's 180 degrees when you add up all sides. Like that's how it works.
Isn't it interesting how, socially speaking, when people are saying something is around you, they'll say it's to your left or right if it's at about a 90-degree from where you're facing. But if something's behind you, there seems to be a wider arc. So, like, if you're facing forward, something that's in front of you is in front of you, and then left and right is here. But if it's behind you, it's kind of like just anywhere in the 180-degree slice. You notice that? Like if somebody says like somebody's behind you, they can just be a little bit behind you. They can be like kind of right here, but that's more right than it is behind. Isn't that odd?
Do you think that like contradictions can be true?
In language? Absolutely. Well,
Like
100%,
if
yeah.
somebody identified as an atheist and also identified as a Muslim, would you see that as a contradiction?
Yeah, and those people literally exist. That's literally a
Wait,
thing.
is no, that's not my question. Is that a contradiction as being atheist and a Muslim at the same
It's
time?
not a logical contradiction. It's a
It's not a
semantic.
logical
No,
contradiction to be an atheist and a Muslim at the same time.
no, it's a semantic contradiction, but people use those in literature all the time. For example, a person is happy and sad. That's pretty common, right? Like those are considered contrary emotions. Atheistic Jews probably outnumber religious Jews in the United States. A lot of Jews really don't go for the religion stuff that much, but they're considered Jewish by like everyone, including themselves.
So I think the confusion is like the reference. When we refer to a Muslim, we are referring to somebody who believes in God. And when we're referring to an atheist, we're referring to somebody who lacks a belief in God. And these two things can't be true at the same time. You can't
Wait,
lack belief in
I didn't come
something
up with those
and have a belief
definitions.
in something. It's either or.
Whoa, I didn't agree to those definitions. I don't know what a Muslim
Oh,
is.
but
That's a complicated
you don't
question.
agree. You don't agree that atheists lack a belief in God and Muslims believe in a God?
Atheist lacking a belief in a God. I guess it would depend on what you mean by God exactly, because there are definitely like people who are considered atheists who are kind of spiritually leaning or have metaphysical beliefs that might overlap with what I would consider to be like religious. As for Muslim, though, good fucking luck finding that out. Is the Saudi royal family Muslim? Because according to you, like Shias and Sunnis, all of the
But my thing
hadiths
about
they follow.
contradictions, though, like take your typical atheist who just believes that there's nothing out there besides like humans.
Well, what about people
Do
like
you believe that do you think it's a contradiction
what
if
about
somebody says that they lack a belief in God and at the same time they hold a belief in God? Clearly, that's a logical contradiction.
people like Elon Musk and the idiots who care for him, who are oftentimes atheist, but they believe that we live in a simulation that's being controlled by a higher intelligence, like a computer or an alien race? Isn't that kind of like believing in a god despite not adhering to any sort of metaphysical or
That's not what I
religious?
was asking about.
No, no, wait. I want to know if somebody believes that they believe that, or if somebody believes that they're in a reality where everything's a simulation controlled by a higher intelligence, some kind of machine entity or whatever, would you say that's a kind of religion or is that a scientific speculation? Because I'm pretty sure people like Neil deGrasse Tyson have also made claims to that effect.
I think the way that gods are usually defined in the literature I've read is some all-powerful, all-knowing deity that is outside of space and time.
That seems like it kind of fits the
So
definition.
if that fits, then so be it. But I think we're getting a little bit off topic.
Not at all. This is, in fact, the exact topic that we're on. You'll never be able to find clear definitions for any of these. The most you can do is make an argument. Here's why I think these things are contradictory. But you can't arrive at an empirical
No, it's
answer because
objectively okay, so now that I gave you my definition of God, do you think that an atheistic Muslim is a contradiction? Can you both hold a belief in what I just mentioned, and can you lack a belief in what I just mentioned? Clearly, that's a contradiction.
I mean, considering the fact that we're talking about the metaphysical, people's minds can be changed on a day-to-day basis depending on their personal experiences. In terms of like an aggregate,
I'm
or what
not
they
talking about
broadly
changing
believe,
minds over a period of time. I'm talking about at this moment in time. Can you hold these two beliefs simultaneously?
if your definition of Muslim involves not being an atheist, then no, you couldn't be both.
Okay, perfect.
But what if
So
being a Muslim
these
didn't
social, hold
involve...
on. But these social constructs that you call it social constructs can have logical contradictions.
Yeah, but there's no contradiction with a
Before you
Muslim
said
atheist.
they couldn't. So now we
No,
can
well,
agree
no,
that
no, no,
social
no.
contracts can have logical
I said there's
contradictions.
a difference between a logical and a semantic contradiction because I know Muslim atheists, like personally, because they're culturally
Okay.
Muslim. Hey, I put up a Christmas tree. Why do I do that? I don't believe in Jesus Christ.
Maybe you just like the tree.
Well, why do I
I
do
don't
that's a
think that you
very
need to do that to be a Christian.
that's a very arbitrary thing for me to have gotten into, considering a total lack of religious belief on my part. And all the Jewish people, like Bernie Sanders. Does Bernie Sanders even actively practice Judaism? But everybody calls him Jewish, right? Like I know plenty of Jewish people who are culturally Jewish and who know rabbis and stuff, but who don't personally care about or practice anything concerning Judaism.
Okay.
This
That
may
has
be.
nothing to do with the idea
Wait,
of
no, are they
contradiction.
Jewish?
I don't know I haven't looked into Judaism enough to know what you need to believe to be Jewish. I can probably only speak to Islam and
You
Christianity.
acknowledge that, like, by you are or aren't a Christian, it would be like you would be arguing like different lines for what it means to be Christian throughout like the time, right? Like you might argue right after the split with the Anglican Church that like, oh, well, you aren't really a Christian unless you're Catholic. And then it's, oh, well, you're not
Some
really
people
Christian.
may define it that way.
If different people can define something like that in different
I
ways,
asked them, when you say Christian, who are you referring to? When you say man, who are you referring to? What are you referring to? What phenomena are you referring to? That's the questions I ask.
but if the answers are contingent upon people's personal biases and experiences, then what you're talking about is definitionally a social bias. It's a social construct.
Well, I never denied that all words are socially constructed.
Well, if all words are socially constructed and we agree on that,
Obviously, because who made words besides humans?
then we have
The
to
concepts exist mind independent within reality. The
Christianity.
concepts- I'm talking about concepts in general.
Well, yeah, but concepts can also be socially constructed. Christianity is socially constructed in a literal sense that we
Okay,
made
that's
it.
fine. Yeah, so social constructs can still exist within reality, though. Like, that's what I was showing. And you seem to agree because you believe social constructs can have logical contradictions. The same is true for transgenderism.
Well, anything can have a logical contradiction if there are mutually exclusive terms. However,
Yeah.
the problem is once you deal with how these terms are used in real life, you realize that very rarely there are logical contradictions. More often, there are semantic ones where you can have Muslim atheists, you can have Christian atheists. There are plenty of them. You can have people whose values seem contradictory, but then you look a little closer and realize that things are just a lot more complicated than you thought. You can have countries that are socially conservative relative to us, but have third genders that are legally recognized because their tradition for such goes back centuries. You will never, this is the logical positivism thing, right? The scientific positivism. These are not questions that can be answered with well, can you logically prove that you're an American? Can you logically prove that you're a man? Can you logically this, logically that? This is why I say, like, you kill English language, because what you don't realize in a quest to ostracize the transgenders or whatever is that the standards you're applying would fuck over everyone, including yourself. None of us benefit from this.